Chosen one, they thought they understood you, but they never saw what was happening behind the silence. They saw the moments when you stepped back, but they never saw the battle inside your heart. They saw the closed doors, the unanswered questions, the lonely nights, the disappointments, and the times when your voice became quiet. They believed your silence meant surrender. They believed your patience meant weakness. They believed your kindness meant you could be ignored. But they never understood that some of the deepest work of God happens where no applause exists. Nothing you have lived through was meaningless. Every delay, every betrayal, every rejection carried a lesson that was shaping your character long before it revealed its purpose. You were not forgotten. Even when life felt painfully still, God was teaching you to see beyond appearances. There are truths that darkness tries to hide behind confusion, pride, and deception, but truth has a quiet power. It does not need to shout. It waits, and when the right moment arrives, truth reveals itself. They underestimated you. They measured you by what they could see, never realizing that wisdom often grows in silence. They expected quick reactions, emotional arguments, desperate attempts to prove yourself. Instead, you observed, you listened, you learned. They mistook your restraint for fear because they did not understand that real strength is often invisible. Your silence was not weakness. It was discipline. It was self-control. It was the decision to protect your peace instead of feeding unnecessary conflict. While others rushed to be noticed, you were quietly becoming stronger. While others chased approval, you were learning that your worth was never meant to depend on human opinions. Chosen one, not every thought deserves to be spoken. Not every battle deserves your energy. Sometimes the greatest victory is refusing to become the person your pain tries to create. Sometimes the greatest answer is calmness. Sometimes the greatest response is simply walking forward with dignity, while allowing time to uncover what words never could. There were moments when you wondered if the waiting meant you had been left behind. But your delay was not your ending. Not every closed door is rejection. Not every season of silence is punishment. God sees the entire journey while you only see today's road. Divine timing is rarely comfortable because it asks for trust before understanding. The path has been shaping your patience, your judgment, and your ability to carry responsibility without arrogance. If everything had happened when you demanded it, you might have gained success before gaining wisdom. But God is more concerned with who you are becoming than with how quickly you arrive. Truth reveals itself, not always in dramatic moments, but often through steady clarity. The masks people wear cannot remain forever. False appearances eventually collapse under the weight of reality. That does not mean everyone will suddenly admit they misunderstood you. Some may never do so. Yet you do not need every person to recognize your value for your purpose to remain real. Justice does not require revenge. Darkness hopes you will answer betrayal with bitterness, lies with lies, and cruelty with cruelty. But every time you refuse that invitation, you protect something far greater than your reputation. You protect your soul. Chosen one, real justice begins when you stop allowing anger to become your identity. Let truth carry its own weight. Let consequences unfold without your hands forcing them. Keep your character intact even when others lose theirs. Keep your integrity when shortcuts seem easier. Keep your compassion without becoming naive. There is enormous strength in remaining steady while chaos demands a reaction. The more your spirit awakens, the less desperate you become for applause, acceptance, or revenge. You begin seeing people with wisdom instead of resentment. You begin measuring success by your closeness to God, your discipline, your honesty, and your courage to remain faithful to what is right. Chosen one, this identity is not about being above anyone else. It is about accepting a greater responsibility. You are called to carry wisdom without pride, strength without cruelty, confidence without arrogance, and patience without losing hope. Your greatest achievement will never be proving others wrong. It will be becoming the person God has been shaping through every unseen battle. They underestimated you, but that is no longer the point. You were not forgotten. Your silence was not weakness. Your delay was not your ending. Truth reveals itself. Justice does not require revenge. Your legacy is being built one faithful decision at a time. So keep walking with humility when no one applauds, with courage when no one understands, and with trust when the road feels uncertain. Because destiny is not created by noise. It is revealed through patience, guided by divine wisdom, and fulfilled by those who never let darkness define their journey. Chosen one, there comes a moment when the noise around you loses its power, not because the world suddenly becomes quiet, but because something inside you changes forever. You begin to realize that the greatest battles were never only against difficult people or painful circumstances. The greatest battle was against fear, doubt, impatience, and the temptation to abandon the path God placed before you. That is why so much of your journey has felt invisible. While others focused on changing their surroundings, God was transforming your spirit. Every disappointment forced you to discover a deeper source of strength. Every lonely season taught you that peace cannot depend on human approval. Every unanswered question challenged you to trust divine wisdom, even when your own understanding reached its limits. You thought you were simply surviving difficult seasons, but you were actually being prepared to see what many people spend their entire lives missing. Darkness does not always appear as obvious evil. Sometimes it hides behind pride, false success, empty promises, or voices that constantly pressure you to become someone you were never meant to be. That is why discernment has become one of your greatest gifts. You no longer judge everything by appearance. You pause, you observe, you seek wisdom before making decisions. This quiet awareness is becoming one of the strongest protections God has placed within you. They underestimated you because they believed silence meant emptiness. They never imagined silence could be full of wisdom. While they spoke carelessly, you learned to weigh every word. While they chased attention, you learned that lasting influence is built through character, not performance. While they tried to control every outcome, you slowly accepted that some answers only arrive through patience. There is a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is driven by emotion. Response is guided by wisdom. Chosen one, every time you refuse to answer hatred with hatred, you broke a chain that could have trapped your future. Every time you chose integrity instead of revenge, you protected something far more valuable than temporary victory. The world often celebrates loud confidence, but God often strengthens quiet conviction. Real power is not the ability to dominate people. Real power is mastering yourself when every emotion tells you to lose control. That is why your calmness unsettles those who expected chaos from you. They cannot understand how someone who has suffered so much still carries hope, still chooses kindness, and still refuses to let bitterness become their identity. Truth reveals itself, but rarely according to human schedules. Many people become exhausted because they spend their lives trying to expose every lie immediately. Yet some truths need time. Time reveals intentions. Time reveals character. Time reveals consistency. A false image may survive for a season, but it cannot survive forever. In the same way, genuine character may be overlooked for a while, but it cannot remain hidden forever either. This is why you must resist the urge to force recognition. If your purpose depends on constant validation, then your peace will always belong to other people. But if your purpose is rooted in God, then no misunderstanding can permanently steal what was meant for you. Keep improving even when nobody notices. Keep learning even when nobody praises your effort. Keep serving with sincerity even when your kindness is ignored. The seeds planted in faith often remain unseen long before they become impossible to overlook. Your responsibility is not to control the harvest. Your responsibility is to remain faithful while the roots grow beneath the surface. Chosen one, never confuse delay with defeat. Some roads seem longer because they are leading you somewhere that requires greater wisdom. Imagine receiving everything you asked for before your heart was ready to carry it. Success without humility becomes arrogance. Influence without discipline becomes destruction. Knowledge without integrity becomes manipulation. God protects you in ways you may not immediately recognize. Sometimes protection looks like a closed opportunity. Sometimes mercy feels like waiting. Sometimes guidance feels like uncertainty because you are being invited to walk by trust instead of certainty. The hidden truth is that your greatest victories are already beginning inside your character before they ever become visible in your circumstances. And when your spirit becomes stronger than your fears, darkness loses the power to define your story. From that moment forward, you stop living to prove yourself to people and begin living to honor the purpose God has patiently been revealing within you. Chosen one, there is one truth that changes everything, and very few people are willing to accept it. Not everyone who misunderstands you is your enemy, and not everyone who praises you is your friend. Life has a quiet way of removing illusions. God allows time to uncover what appearances cannot. Some people enter your life to encourage your growth. Others enter your life to reveal where your boundaries must become stronger. Even painful relationships can become teachers when you refuse to let resentment blind your wisdom. Looking back, you may finally see that every betrayal pushed you closer to discernment. Every rejection redirected you away from paths that could have stolen your peace. Every delay forced you to build patience instead of pride. What once felt like punishment slowly begins to look like protection. This is why you no longer chase every opportunity or every relationship that promises quick happiness. You have learned that what comes from God never demands that you abandon your values to receive it. If something requires you to sacrifice your honesty, your dignity, or your inner peace, then no matter how attractive it appears, it carries a price that is too high. Darkness often hides behind attractive shortcuts, but truth always invites you toward patience, responsibility, and integrity. They underestimated you because they judged your present while ignoring your process. They saw unfinished chapters and assumed the story was over. They watched you struggle and believed struggle defined your identity, but they never understood that growth is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. The strongest tree spends years building roots before anyone admires its height. In the same way, your unseen seasons have never been wasted. Every quiet morning when you chose discipline instead of excuses, every difficult evening when you refused to let despair control your decisions, every moment you chose forgiveness instead of hatred, another foundation stone was being placed beneath your future. No applause followed those moments. No crowd celebrated your private victories, yet God saw every choice that strengthened your character. Those hidden victories matter more than public recognition because they shape the person you become when no one is watching. Chosen one, never underestimate the power of unseen faithfulness. The world celebrates dramatic moments, but lasting legacies are built through ordinary decisions repeated with extraordinary consistency. Truth reveals itself because falsehood cannot carry its own weight forever. A person may deceive others for a season, but deception slowly becomes a prison of its own making. In contrast, honesty grows stronger with time. Integrity becomes more valuable with every test it survives. This is why you must never become impatient when justice appears delayed. Justice does not require revenge. Justice does not require endless arguments. Justice does not require you to destroy someone else's reputation to protect your own. There is dignity in allowing your actions to speak louder than your anger. There is freedom in refusing to carry bitterness year after year. When you release the need to control every outcome, your heart becomes lighter. You begin investing your energy where it truly belongs, into your purpose, your discipline, your compassion, and your relationship with God. The greatest response to darkness is not becoming darker yourself. It is becoming so deeply rooted in truth that deception can no longer pull you away from who you are meant to be. And now you stand at a different place than the person you once were. The fear that once controlled your decisions no longer has the final word. The opinions that once kept you awake at night no longer define your value. You understand that being a chosen one is not about receiving special treatment. It is about accepting a greater responsibility to live with wisdom when others choose impulse, with humility when others seek pride, with patience when others surrender to frustration, and with faith when others lose hope. Your legacy is being built, not through perfect circumstances, but through faithful choices made in imperfect moments. One day, people may notice the strength they once overlooked. They may finally recognize the peace they could never understand. But whether they do or not is no longer your burden. Your mission has never been to convince everyone. Your mission is to remain true to the path God has placed before you. So keep your heart humble, keep your spirit awake, keep your conscience clear, keep walking with courage even when the road is lonely. Because in the end, darkness can hide many things for a season, but it can never hide the truth forever, and it can never stop a soul that walks patiently with God, guided by divine wisdom, strengthened through every trial, and quietly becoming the legacy it was always meant to leave behind. Chosen one, if you have listened this far, then perhaps something inside you already recognizes that this message is not simply about difficult people or painful memories. It is about the invisible decision you make every single day. Will you allow the darkness of this world to shape your heart, or will you allow God to shape your character? That choice becomes your true destiny. The world constantly tells you that success is measured by attention, influence, possessions, and the ability to make everyone admire you. But God measures differently. The true measure of a life is not how many people know your name. It is who you become when no one is watching. It is whether you remain honest when dishonesty would benefit you. It is whether you remain compassionate when bitterness seems easier. It is whether you remain humble after gaining wisdom and remain grateful after surviving storms that should have broken you. Chosen one, never forget this. Darkness always wants to change your identity before it changes your circumstances. It whispers that pain should make you colder, Betrayal should make you suspicious of everyone. Rejection should make you give up on your purpose, and delay should make you doubt God. But every time you reject those lies, you reclaim a piece of your true self. Every time you choose patience over panic, forgiveness over revenge, and truth over convenience, you become stronger in ways that cannot be measured by the world. Real transformation is rarely loud. It happens quietly, decision by decision, day after day, until one morning you realize you are no longer the same person who once cried over things that no longer control you. Look back for a moment. Think about the version of yourself that existed before the trials began. You wanted quick answers. You wanted immediate results. You wanted every injustice corrected without delay. You believed that if you worked hard enough, treated people well enough, and stayed honest enough, life would always reward you quickly. But reality taught you something much deeper. Sometimes the honest are misunderstood. Sometimes the patient are overlooked. Sometimes the faithful walk through valleys they never expected to enter. Yet those valleys carried lessons that mountaintops never could. They taught you how to recognize genuine people without needing endless words. They taught you that loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness says you have been abandoned. Solitude gives you space to hear your own conscience and remember God more clearly. Those silent seasons became sacred classrooms. There, your fears were exposed, your pride was challenged, your expectations were refined. You discovered that courage is not the absence of uncertainty. It is choosing to move forward while uncertainty still exists. That is why you should never despise the chapters that seemed slow or painful. They were not interruptions to your story. They were the very places where your foundation was being strengthened. A building with a weak foundation may rise quickly, but it cannot survive powerful storms. God was building something inside you that could endure both success and hardship without losing its balance. They underestimated you because they were looking for visible proof, while God was producing invisible strength. People often celebrate confidence, but they rarely notice discipline. They admire achievements, but overlook the countless private sacrifices that made those achievements possible. They applaud victories without understanding the nights filled with doubt, prayer, reflection, and perseverance. That is why you must never compare your timeline to someone else's. Comparison blinds you to your own progress. Someone else's chapter cannot define your assignment. Some people bloom early and fade quickly. Others spend years growing unseen before becoming impossible to ignore. But even then, your goal is not to be admired. Your goal is to remain faithful to the values that God has planted within you. If admiration comes, receive it with humility. If criticism comes, receive it with wisdom. Neither praise nor criticism should become the foundation of your identity. Only truth deserves that place. Chosen one, remember how many times you almost explained yourself to people who had already decided not to understand you. Remember how many nights you replayed conversations in your mind, wishing you had defended yourself differently. But now you see that not every accusation deserves an answer. Not every misunderstanding requires a speech. Sometimes silence protects your peace more effectively than endless arguments. Sometimes walking away is not surrender. It is wisdom, refusing to waste strength where hearts have already closed themselves to truth. Truth reveals itself, and this principle reaches far beyond other people. One of the greatest truths God reveals is the truth about yourself. During your hardest seasons, you discovered strengths you never knew you possessed. You learned that you could survive disappointment without becoming hopeless. You learned that you could lose opportunities without losing your integrity. You learned that you could forgive without forgetting the lesson. You learned that you could continue loving what is right even after witnessing injustice. These discoveries are treasures no one can steal from you. Wealth can disappear. Recognition can fade. Positions can change. But a refined character remains. Wisdom remains. Integrity remains. A peaceful conscience remains. That is why darkness fears people whose hearts belong to truth. Such people cannot be easily manipulated by fear, greed, pride, or temporary pleasure. They have learned that every decision plants a seed, and every seed eventually produces fruit. This awareness changes the way you live. You stop chasing appearances and start cultivating substance. You stop asking, "How can I impress people?" and begin asking, "How can I honor God with the person I am becoming?" That single question transforms every area of your life. Justice does not require revenge. Let those words settle deep within your spirit. Revenge promises satisfaction, but often leaves the heart chained to the very pain it wanted to escape. Justice is different. Justice allows truth to stand on its own. Justice allows time to reveal character. Justice trusts that every choice carries consequences, even when those consequences are delayed. You are not responsible for controlling every outcome. You are responsible for controlling your own heart. Guard it carefully. Protect it from bitterness. Protect it from arrogance. Protect it from despair. Those are the places where darkness quietly tries to hide, but the light of truth exposes them, not only in others, but also within yourself. And when you are willing to face your own weaknesses with honesty, God can transform them into strength. That is the awakening many people never experience. They spend their lives searching for hidden enemies while ignoring the hidden fears inside themselves. You have been called to something greater. Your greatest victory is not defeating another person. It is refusing to let fear, pride, resentment, or hopelessness rule your spirit. So as you leave this message, carry these words with you wherever life leads. When people underestimate you, do not let it change your character. When opportunities are delayed, do not assume your purpose has been denied. When darkness tries to hide the truth, remember that truth has never depended on noise to survive. It only requires time. You were not forgotten. Your silence was not weakness. Your delay was not your ending. Truth reveals itself. Justice does not require revenge. Your legacy is being built every single day through choices that few people will ever witness, but that God fully sees. Walk with courage when the road feels uncertain. Walk with humility when success finally arrives. Walk with gratitude even after painful seasons. And never forget that the strongest light is not the one that shines for a single moment. It is the one that continues burning through every storm, guided by divine wisdom, protected by God, and faithful to the destiny that darkness could never erase.